Good morning. My name is Derek Stoughton, and I serve as the Director of Operations. It is my job to uphold the standards and practices of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast.
My name is Adam Daly. I am the Clown Prince of Podcasting, and I am guaranteed to say at least 6 words that would get me fired from network television and forced to issue an apology on cable television.
And my name is Josh Lopez. I am the student of the game of professional wrestling. Even though I'm a professional broadcaster, I'm not afraid to piss you off at the same time. This is the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 107 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. I am the notorious Swan, Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshy. This is gonna be a riot. This is give you the forewarning as you're listening to this right now. If you're ready to laugh, depending when you're listening to the show, just prepare to laugh. This is gonna be a wild ride in the next, let's say, 80 to 90 minutes. So I'm not alone as always. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, my brother from another mother, the one and only Adam Daly, the Clown Prince. What's going on, my man?
Sitting here. Last week I was complaining because Pittsburgh felt like an oven. This week it's actually feeling pretty nice. I got the new haircut rocking. I got the seal of approval from a certain somebody on here, so we're just going to pass it over to him and say, what's going on, guys?
Yes, sir. We're also not alone, and I'll say it's an honor. Even though this guy is the Director of Operations, or as I used to call him, Doo-Doo, we are joined today. Tremendous. I don't care. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to bring on for the first time here in the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, the one and only Derek Stoughton, the Director of Operations. Brother Carter, I knew you'd come.
Brother Adam, it is what, I believe it has been a while. So it is once again, I guess not once again, but for the first time, it is time for your performance evaluation of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Because as I said at the very beginning, it is my job to uphold the standards and practices of this particular podcast. And by having to do these occasional checks to make sure that everything is on the up and up and that you're performing at a level that I find absolutely acceptable, that will be going on over the next 75 to 80 minutes. So to your viewers, I say, okay, I'm done. It's great to be with you guys again. Brother Adam, it's great. Brother Joseph, how long has it been since you and I have been on a podcast together? It's been
years.
A few years, hasn't it?
Years, yeah. I'm trying to think. We got the video chat a couple months ago. But I think as far as like for our wonderful audience out there, I never like to say fans because I hope nobody has ever been a fan of mine. Please, I've been steadfast about that. But it's been a couple years, man. It's been a couple years.
Well, don't worry. I haven't been fans of either of you for a long time, so you don't need to worry about it.
Sounds about right. I wouldn't be a fan of me. I wouldn't. I'd downvote me, too. I don't know.
I'm sure being Canadian, I have to apologize 12 times on this show. Otherwise, I get an electric shock from the government of Canada.
Trudeau comes in your house and scolds you.
That's right. Oh, it's so good, eh? But no, it's good to be with you guys. This is a long time coming. This table for 3 has been a long time coming.
It's going to be a good one.
I wanted to play the intro from the Table for 3, like the little music in the chef background, but I didn't want to get any copy strikes from the network. So,
well, if you don't want me to edit the awkward pause out, which I kind of want to leave the awkward pause in there for humor purposes, but I could always splice in. We could figure out an entrance theme for a Table of 3 or a jingle, if you will.
I kind of like awkward pauses are always fun. Awkward silence.
I got a couple of things I wanted to plug really quick. We do this podcast every Thursday. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. iTunes changes their name as much as the White Sox changed their ballpark name. So 1 week would be iTunes, Apple Podcasts. I don't know what's next. But you can find us there. You can also subscribe to the podcast on our YouTube channel. Originally, I just had it Josh Lopez because I had an old sports show I used to do daily, but it's now just Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. So if you go to youtube.com, type in Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast in the search engine, it's pretty simple. I got every episode that we've done, even going back to the week after WrestleMania 32, when me and Adam first started doing this particular show. I have it on there. I have some old interviews I've done in the past, and we got some fun things to talk about today. Obviously, having Brother Carter here, we're going to kind of reflect some of the memories of my trip down there in New Orleans. I want to talk a little bit about Derek's life as the conductor of the arts and music. Of course,
choo-choo. Different conductor.
That'll be fun. And then we'll get into wrestling. Of course, we got You Played Yourself. And by the way, boys, we're about a week and a half or so away from Money in the Bank. So that's always one of the fun weekends of the year. And I'm glad Brother Carter's here because I've told Adam this. I made it a mission to stray away from the Roman Reigns thing because people spend 90% of their podcast talking about the guy. But I'm not alone in the Roman Reigns thing. Brother Carter, I'm going to let him give his thoughts on the Roman Reigns thing and some of the nonsense he has to deal with on Twitter during Monday night. So we'll get into that later on. But last thing I wanted to plug, check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. I started a new position at the tattoo shop Infamous Inc. in Chicago, Ashland, North Avenue. If you guys want to come say hello to me, I'm there on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. I started working there about a couple months ago, and I haven't been able to cover these shows live. In a big way, I think it's helped me enjoy the product more because I get to watch it after the fact with no commercials, and I don't have to deal with that pressure and feel like I have to react openly to every segment of the show on social media. So that's kind of the fun part of it. But even though I'm working now, I'm still dishing out these articles. I'm not forgetting about you guys. So I keep doing the articles, and coming up this Saturday, we got the New Japan Dominion show, which is basically New Japan SummerSlam. So I'll be covering that show this Saturday. We got Chris Jericho and Naito. That's the big attraction match, if you will. Shout out to Dusty Rhodes. So that's pretty much it. Boys, let's have some fun, shall we? All right, here we go. I want to start off with this. I want to give a big shout out to Brother Carter for not only being a great host to me down in New Orleans, but just being a good friend in general. Me and Brother Carter had a very nice chat before he dropped me off at the airport when I was going back to Chicago that day. It was early morning for both of us, and you didn't have to bring me back there. I did appreciate that. It was very gracious on your part to bring me out there. But I was telling him about motivation and like our goals are for different paths. I'm a broadcaster now. I did have a music background before I started doing this broadcasting stuff. You've done wrestling rumors, you've done podcast stuff, but you've done it as a hobby, I guess. Like it was fun. It was never something like, all right, this is my job and I have to do it. Yeah, you've done articles and you're a great writer and you've done great stuff. I even was taking part of Universal Chatter. That was something we started from the ground up, and we had a pretty nice following on it. I have my feelings on the dirt sheets. I've made that known over the years, but anytime I came on Universal Chatter, it was just about having fun. And, whether we're doing a podcast or Universal Chatter or whatever, I appreciate the person you are, and letting me be myself on those platforms as well. So I want to give you a shout out first off for just being a good friend. I really appreciate what you've done for me so far.
Hey, listen, Josh, I'm happy to do it. You're a good brother, no doubt about it. And I can tell just by watching you work and having a chance to chat with you on Universal Chatter, your heart's in the right place. And that's really the best thing about it. And that's why I'm happy to extend the olive branch and to help you out however I can. And that's just who I am as a person. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or whatever, but that's just how I was raised. And, and I'm happy to help. Listen, we've got to help each other, guys. We've got to stick together and help each other. Us trying to, hate does nobody any good. I've never found one instance in life where being a hater or not being helpful to somebody is a bad thing. So that's just kind of how I was raised. And we were happy to have you down, Josh. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time that weekend. It was great.
Right, and you came here.
Want me to leave you guys alone for a couple minutes? I mean, I could come back. I mean,
you're good. Go ahead.
No, keep going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to be that guy. No, keep going. This is a great moment.
Leave it to the crown prince of podcasting to ruin a nice moment.
I'm sorry, Josh. Please keep going. This is awesome.
It was funny. I actually got to meet Derek in person. Here's the odd thing. Like, for a little, just tearing the fourth wall here, like, when we've recorded podcasts, we've seen each other in person, and you hear our voices. I don't know if it's different for me. Like, everybody's like, let's say, for example, you taught this person for a couple years, and let's say, like, for a relationship sense, right? And you're like, oh, you don't know me, like, we haven't met in person. Well, first off, you see me a gazillion times. You know what I look like. You know what I sound like. It's kind of, I don't know why it's like a big deal. Like, oh, we haven't met in person. Like, I talk to Adam just like he's my brother. I haven't sat next to him ever. I've never been in his vicinity.
Yeah. The only difference, like, when I'm in Chicago next week is you have to look at my ugly mug, like, actually see me. And then you'll be like, wow, this dude is a little tiny troll of a human being. That's all.
Well, look,
that's the only difference.
We all need to help out those charity cases, every now and then. So
it's true. It's true.
All right. So back to what I was saying. I actually met Brett Carter in person here in Chicago. He does yearly trips here for which festival is it, Brett Carter?
So every year the Midwest, so the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic happens in Chicago every year at the McCormick Place. And I go every year, and it's a great place for people in my profession to network and to reconnect and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm in Chicago every year for about 3 or 4 days around Christmas time, and I've been going there for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's great. Really enjoy it. It's fun. Chicago is beautiful in the wintertime. It really is.
Absolutely. I can attest to that, but I don't know anything different. I've been here my entire fucking life, even though I have to dodge bullets here and there, but it's okay. Let me just say this though. So Derek has other business he has to attend to outside of wrestling. He is an actual conductor. He takes part in music, helping teach the art of music to a lot of students. How long have you been teaching, by the way, Derek?
I just, absolutely. So I started my professional teaching career in 2006. So just finished, took 2 years off in between there for graduate school. So I just finished my, what year are we in, 2018? So I just finished my 10th full year. Just finished my 10th full year of actual being an educator in front of students. So it's been great. It's been a great ride the whole time.
Can you tell us a little bit about your musical background before you got into the teaching part of it?
Absolutely. So you guys know I grew up in Canada, Kimberley, British Columbia, Canada, West Coast. Shout out to Bret Hart. Though he might not be Canada's greatest wrestling export, but we can get into that a little bit later. So I grew up there. Started taking piano lessons when I was like 5 years old. Started playing the drums when I was 8, and just did both of those while growing up in Kimberley. And then moved to Austin, Texas when I was 16 years old. And at that point, I moved away from the piano and focused on percussion and made that my primary focus, which helped me get into college, to get a degree in music from the University of Texas. And then during that time, I knew that I ended up wanting to be a conductor, be a band director. And so I made the transition to that once I got out of college, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I'm now where I am today.
I want to bring Adam into this because we have something in common, all three of us. Music has been a big escape for all three of us for different reasons. I think for me and you, there we have from a performance standpoint. And Adam, of course, you have a lot of stories from music that you relate to. You've told me in the past about your love for Tool and other concerts and other bands that you checked out over the years. Let me just ask you this, guys. We'll start with Adam. Like, why does music have so much of a connection to you? And is it an easy thing to say it's an escape, or is it something that's really affected you from a positive standpoint?
Starting with me on this one?
Yeah.
No, you know what? I don't even think it's necessarily this is where I feel like we're not necessarily the outcast for connecting with music so much. I feel like music is the heartbeat, the drumbeat of life anyway. And I almost feel like I feel sorry for people when I say, hey man, like, who's your favorite band, or, or even what kind of music do you listen to? And they go, yeah, I don't really listen to music that much. And I instantly feel sad for them. Like, wow, like, because to me it's weird because it's a question that I don't like. I have a million reasons why I connect with music and why it's an escape, whether it be, to calm you down, to fire you up, whatever, however you want to paint the picture. But I just feel that I really feel for those that are totally devoid of any sort of connection to music whatsoever. I almost feel like those people don't have a soul. And obviously I'm kidding here, guys, but and I'm only kidding because you're on here, Derek. Otherwise I'd be dead serious. But I think that music is the soundtrack of life. And I mean, I think music is something that you could hear a certain song and it'll instantly take you to a certain place. I think everybody in their own way has a connection to music, whether they realize it or not. And if you don't, you're like Patrick Bateman, except you can't explain why Phil Collins in the studio is a great song and a personal favorite.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Well, for me, it's a lot of what Adam said is absolutely true. And for me, what I think makes music so special, it is one of the only activities that I know that uses both sides of the brain simultaneously. It uses both the side of reasoning and the side of emotion, and it combines those two things together, which is why, Adam, like you said, when someone hears a song, it immediately takes them back to a moment because it connects them with that emotional side of things, but they can remember what they were doing physically as well. So and it enhances absolutely everything that we do. A movie, for the most part, would not be what it is without a great soundtrack. I mean, when there's a big moment and the protagonist finally achieves their goal, what's going on in the background? Right. There's a soundtrack. It just wouldn't be the same if there wasn't a soundtrack involved with that. Or, I know this is a wrestling podcast, so think about a wrestling entrance theme. Think about how much we get excited about certain performers just based upon their entrance theme. I don't think we would be excited about a guy like Bobby Roode. I mean, obviously Bobby Roode's great, but we wouldn't be as excited about him if his theme song wasn't as glorious as it was, pun intended. Or a guy like Nakamura. Or, Josh, think about like you with the Sami Zayn thing. Like, you hate that theme song. And that gets you passionate about that, right? So,
and on the flip side, Derek, on the flip side, not to interrupt, but think about how much more powerful that makes Tommaso Ciampa's entrance without music. Exactly. And then when that crowd is overlapped, with the boos, that makes it that much more powerful because then the crowd becomes the instrument.
Absolutely. So
I remember this for when I saw Aleister Black make his debut at the Takeover in Orlando I went to a couple years ago. Like, to your point, like you hear certain music and you just automatically latch onto a character. It was the same thing for me. Obviously, Aleister Black's an awesome wrestler. He's just a man. But hearing that song for the first time and seeing the smoke with the entrance, it was just awesome. But for me, I always looked at music as a release. Being a young kid, I started playing music when I was 7. I started off playing percussion and guitar. My grandpa started teaching me guitar lessons. He has a guitar shop here in Chicago. So my mom's side of the family's been playing music for a long time. My Aunt Berta is the choir director at my church. I've had uncles and other cousins play music in the past, and music was something that kept my mind off things. I talked about this before in the past in the show that I've had some of a rough childhood and dealing with bullying. Besides wrestling, I didn't have a lot to go to get my mind off things. So when I first started playing music and I started playing in jazz bands and concert bands and Latin jazz bands, I felt like I was in my zone because I was in my own world where nothing anybody said would affect me when I was on that stage. When I was on that stage performing, I was doing my thing, what I loved, and I just felt free. So it was a release for me. Getting to play at venues like Symphony Orchestra Hall in Chicago, and even Navy Pier or the United Center, and even playing at the Berkeley Jazz Festival, High School Jazz Festival over the last couple of years before I graduated high school. Music is something that I'll never forget. There's only one side of me that the public knows about me from doing podcasting for 5 years, but it's kind of a shame in a way that even though I started doing podcasting, I unfortunately put music to the side because I love playing. I don't play as much as I should. And that kind of bothers me in a way because I listen to music every day. I jam out. I'll do air guitar here and there or whatever. But I just love music in what it is in its purest form. So it was cool just to talk a little bit about that, get things going. So
let me ask you guys a question, both as musicians and the like. And I always ask this because I'd like to ask this question because as a fan of the band Tool, every Tool fan, we might be worse than wrestling fans. We all think we're like the ultimate music expert because we get it, man. We get Tool. You guys don't get Tool. We get them. And we get Tool more than he gets Tool. It's like Tool fans hate Tool fans more than wrestling fans hate wrestling fans. It's the craziest thing. But long story short, so my favorite album of all time and probably my favorite song of all time is Lateralis by Tool and the album itself, but the song is based on the Fibonacci sequence. And it's one where it actually counts up and then counts down, and it's based on 9/8/7s. And even the lyrics go on like a 1-3-5-7-9, and like it's the timing on it is just, to me, is absolutely just something that when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is intense for somebody that can't play music, I listen to Maynard on Joe Rogan, and he's so nonchalant about it's really not that big of a deal. It's kind of like what we do, how is it difficult, or are they just playing coy and just like playing it down, or is that something that's like kind of difficult to do when you can basing a song? Well, basing a song off the Fibonacci sequence and being able to kind of like fade in and out from like time frames of like 1, 3, 5, 7, or I'm sorry, it would be like 1, 3, 5, all the prime numbers, whatever.
Oh, I see. Like, are you talking about like a 1, 1, 2, 3, 5?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
8. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it can be. But if you have a great sound engineer and you have a great person who works, because all the bands you see, obviously they're all very talented musicians, but there's a number of other people behind the scenes who are working on, the mixing and if you're at a concert, the lighting and that sort of thing, all that sort of stuff. So if you have a great sound engineer that can do the fading and in and out and that sort of thing, I mean, it really easily, they say it's probably nonchalant, but to them it's not because they've just done it for so long.
Yeah,
so,
you're going to have to listen to this because Tool, I don't think you understand. Tool doesn't do stuff like sound engineers and stuff. They're very hands-on. It's them.
Okay. Obviously, I know of the band. I'm not as familiar with their music as you are. So
good, sir. I have a homework assignment for you. Tool, Lateralis. That's one. There's actually a good video on YouTube that breaks it down too. So it's like Lateralis Explained or something like that. It's like a 9.5 minute song, just so you know.
Okay.
But that's your and let me know what you think.
Done.
I think you can relate to this, Eric, from playing in rhythm sections before. You get like some numbness to a point where no matter what the time signature is, what the flow of the song is, once you're in a groove, as far as like playing instrument, a lot with playing guitar, it has a lot to do with the wrist. And a lot of times when I was playing percussion in high school, there'd be times during class I just start tapping.
Oh, yeah, I do it all the time.
People would give you dirty looks like, oh, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? Music is always going in your head. And when you're playing it for such a long time, it could be nonchalant if you treat it that way, but there's also a moment where you can get caught and get exposed for not actually paying attention to what's going on.
That's true, but at the same time, the longer you do it, and I've talked with people who play professionally. I don't play professionally. I just play for fun, like at my church every week, and that's all I really do. That's all the extent of my playing career now. But talking with people that have played professionally, like one of my colleagues was the drummer for the Phantom of the Opera tour for over 25 years. So, and now he teaches at the school that I teach at. So, and you get to a point where when you're just playing with really, really good players that are at your level on their instrument, You don't have to, like, you guys just play off each other. Like, oh, we're gonna stop here. Okay, we're gonna go to this section now. Cool. All right, ready to stop here. And you just all of a sudden get this sixth sense, if you will, about how we're gonna start, where we're gonna stop, that sort of thing. And really, professionals at most gigs, they usually don't get a rehearsal. Like, they'll just say, okay, they'll work starts and endings, and then they'll just sight read the music at the gig. Like, that's just how that world works, because you have to pay all of those musicians for their time. Yeah. And the bookers, the promoters, that's not the right word, but the tour managers and stuff, they need to balance the books. So the less they can pay the musicians, the better for everybody. So that's just what it takes to survive in that world.
Did you get like the same drive, like conducting like live concerts as you were playing back then in college?
I do, and that's why I went to that route. That's more of I'm more interested in what I call the science of music, as far as how is a piece of music constructed.
Right.
Where is the melodic line? Where's the harmonic line? Why did the composer put this melody in the trumpet as opposed to the oboe or something like that? So, and me trying to look at this and trying to figure out, okay, why is this? And then taking that and conveying that to the students. That's just where that's where my heart is. That's where my love is. And so that's the route that I've wanted to go. And actually, this may sound kind of strange, but physical conducting, the guy that taps the stand and waves that little funny looking stick in front of the people, is actually, I just realized what I said after that look from Adam. Anyways, that's actually the least important part of the job. All of it is score study and actually just learning about how to be an effective leader. Like I read more books on leadership than I do about conducting or about anything like that, about what it takes to be a good leader, because that's really what we do.
One of the biggest life lessons I got from my music conductor, Robert Vega, who graduated from Berkeley in Boston. He was my high school teacher. He instilled this discipline in leadership in that way, being grounded to like have it focus on why, like you were saying earlier, why this is happening and how to get into like the next phrase of a song, and just mentally knowing what gears you have to get into before you get to like a particular section of song. That's stuff I appreciate from him. So I appreciate you sharing a little story about that. This song I've been wanting to do for a while, actually.
Yeah, man.
Not a lot of people know about your music stuff, and you're very talented.
Thank you.
What you do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I feel like this is an AA meeting. Thank you for sharing, Derek.
My name is Derek. Hi, my name is Derek, and I'm a conductor. Hi, Derek.
All right, Brother Carl, let's get into some business here. Can you please inform Brother Joseph of some of the nonsense you've had to deal with when it comes to the Roman Reigns stuff?
Oh, yes.
Raw.
Yes. Okay. So I have the opportunity to manage the Twitter account for Wrestling Rumors, which I'm
sorry.
Oh, dude. So, and I will occasionally live tweet.
Done that.
Yeah. Got the T-shirt. So I get to do that, and I get to interact with the fans on social media. And anytime Roman Reigns comes out, I immediately send out a tweet, because I absolutely believe this to the core of my being, that here comes Roman Reigns. He's the most important person in WWE right now. Has been for the last 3 years. And I believe he still is to this day. It's because of what Adam, you and I have talked about before, Josh, you and I have talked about before. Nobody elicits a reaction, positive or negative, still like Roman Reigns does. Josh, you heard, besides The Undertaker, and he's not an active performer, but at WrestleMania, who got the biggest reaction? It was Roman Reigns. By far, the hatred that spewed from the audience. And so anyways, I'm dealing with the numbskulls on Twitter who have to tell me that you're an idiot. Roman Reigns is garbage. Why does WWE feed us down the throat? Blah, blah, blah. Because you go to boo him. That's why. You pay money to boo him. Another person who I have to hear from on a somewhat weekly basis about the hatred for Roman Reigns is my brother, who Josh got to meet and every week when we're talking, he's asking me how Raw is or whatever. I'm like, dude, Roman Reigns is on and he's killing it. And he's all the time, he's like, man, fuck Roman Reigns, he's the worst. And he gets mad about it. Like, Josh, you saw that. He gets mad about how much time Roman Reigns. He's like, Derek, he has 4 moves, and I'm like, so does everybody else. Like, if you think about it, they have 4 moves, right? But Roman Reigns, for some reason, that's the hill that everybody wants to die on when it comes to Roman Reigns. Is he's got 4 moves. Let's not hold the fact that he has a great look. That he is, when given the right opportunity.
Warrior had 2 moves.
Right. Hogan had 0. If you think about it, Hogan had.
Did Lex Luger have any moves?
Who?
Right. My bad. The torture rack. Who gives a shit?
Right. I just don't get it. Like, why people can't see the fact that Reigns is good. He is good. He's my second favorite on Raw, next to Woken Matt Hardy, and has been for a long time. So.
My thing with Roman Reigns, like John Cena comparisons, and I saw John Cena's rise. All 3 of us have seen his start into where he is right now. I don't see John Cena and Roman Reigns. Maybe it's kind of different because I'm transcribing the show and I'm paying details of what they do in the ring and stuff and their storylines. I don't see John Cena. Now, that's an easy thing to compare to off the reactions they get. But just strictly from a character standpoint and what they do in the ring and how they structure their matches, I don't see John Cena. I could be wrong about that, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and it's here's one thing that I'll say about Roman Reigns, and I always say this: he's not in my. I mean, it's not like he's a guy that I put in my top 5 or anything like that. But I always defend him because I think it's if you're arguing the same point that you've been arguing for 4 years, and I'm going to say that about a lot of things today, it's stale, and you just kind of need to get over it. But here, the one thing about Reigns that, we're coming up to Money in the Bank, and we'll talk, I guess, more about this a little bit later on, but it's going to be me, my wife, my daughter, and we're bringing my dad up. And listen, my father is not into professional wrestling at all. He probably hasn't watched since he asked me something about Ivan Koloff. That tells you how long it's been since he's watched something professional wrestling based. And a couple things that I thought about, like obviously like the Chicago crowd, like, just certain things. And one of the first things I thought was when Roman Reigns comes out, he's going to be thinking to himself, why do people hate this man so bad? And he's going to be immediately invested because of that reason. So I say this every week, whether people realize it or not, the more they complain about him, the bigger star they're making him. It worked that way for Cena. It worked that way for a lot of people. And I think that's where the comparisons come in because of the extreme polarization, and people immediately want to label the top guy the next Hogan or Cena or Austin or Rock, or it's just an easy label. That's all. Because in 2018, everything has to have a label. So, I ultimately think that's why.
I want to give you a props for this, Ab, because you talked about this last week when it came to the women. Like, why do we need the next this? And I told you about this before, Brother Carter, as well. We don't need the next Austin. Like, I always heard that over the years with Dean Ambrose. Oh, Ambrose is the next Austin. He's the next Roddy Piper. What's wrong with the first Roman Reigns? What's wrong with the first Mandy Rose, like Adam said last week? Why can't she be better than Trish? Why does she have to be the next Trish? Right. Like you said, we don't need labels and we don't need to compare everything to the past. That's just my point of view. But anything else before we move on?
Well, I was just going to say 2 things about that. One is that when you said the Reigns-Cena comparison, that was the first thing I thought of was he's not the next John Cena. He's the first Roman Reigns. Right. He is. And so that was the first thing I thought. And then the second thing I was going to say is I forget. Oh, damn it. It was going to be the most brilliant thing you've ever heard in your life too. So
it normally is.
Come on, Kane.
Keep talking. It'll come back to me.
Real quick, then we'll bounce back to Derek. Here's my only thing. I don't understand why, because if you watch wrestling long enough, we're going to see certain cycles and certain patterns in characters because they ultimately are positioning somebody to be the top man or woman in the company, and we're going to start to see that. We're going to start to see how they build certain characters because we've seen it before. But I don't, most, and I don't want to say all wrestling fans, but a good majority of wrestling fans are also comic book fans. Why are we okay with them repackaging changing Robin every X number of years, and it's a different Robin. And, we don't mind because it's how the story evolves. And they literally, it's not even like they changed the name. It's just another Robin. Or Green Lantern, there's a couple different Green Lanterns. Or, there's nothing, we're okay within any form of entertainment except for professional wrestling. And that's where I still think that we have to remember, and the WWE has been very vocal and very in our face about entertainment lately. They're not even saying sports entertainment. It's like entertainment. We are entertainment. We are entertainment. So when are we going to start looking at them as the characters that they're portraying instead of, the real people that they are too? Like, we should always respect and love the real people. Whether you like the character or not, that is fun to dispute. I hate when it gets personal on the person who's playing the character.
Right.
Go ahead. Which is what I was going to say, Adam, real quick before I remember what I was going to say is, which is why I'm glad that WWE is starting to do more of those behind the scenes type of things. Like, look at how Bayley became, because people are hating on Bayley right now, but look at how she became, wrestling the indies and working with small gyms and seeing like where she came from. Like, I love that. They did it with Seth Rollins. They did it with Luke Harper not so long ago. Like, I think that's really, really, really cool that we're really starting to get that it's okay that they're now being referred by their real names. That's not a faux pas thing anymore, or their previous characters. I think that's a cool thing.
There's a lot of people that are 50-50 about that too. But go ahead.
Really? See, okay. Maybe that could be just me though, because I think it's really cool.
I love it. No, I love it. Yeah, I love it too. But go ahead.
So the other thing I was going to say is we're talking a lot about comparisons. And I know we rag on people that comparison, but we have to remember that is a very natural thing to do. That doesn't just happen in wrestling. That happens in any form of entertainment or sports or anything like that. You're always looking for the quote unquote next person. I think that's because seeing that type of person creates a nostalgia of back at a different time in your life. And nostalgia is a good thing. So that's why I think comparisons happen all the time. It's just a very natural thing as humans.
Let's play a little game of You Played Yourself. We're going to get back into wrestling in a couple of this, but I do want to sprinkle in some pop culture and just some shenanigans since we do have a director of operations here.
That's right. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
And he brings a lot of this to himself. But let me say this. You didn't see this when we're in New Orleans. You're in the melee of all those people at night. But this is a story of somebody actually playing himself. But it wasn't me. It's actually something I saw while you and Scott were looking at one of the girls' tits in the balcony. But it's okay. So here it goes. I'm standing next to the Hard Rock Cafe, right?
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna edit this story, but go ahead.
Right.
We're gonna proofread this one.
Cafe, right? So, who walks past me? Here's a guy charging towards. It was Darren Young. Darren Young was actually in New Orleans. He was doing stuff for WrestleCon. I didn't get a chance to meet him, but I saw him walking by, and this guy comes in and tries to give him a bro hug, right? Darren Young gave him a forearm and started walking away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So whoever strangling man with the Macho Man outfit tried to jump on Darren Young, you played yourself.
Oh, so man. Go. Wow. That's a good – no, I didn't know that story. Holy cow. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So
there's some shit that goes on when you're like in the mix of a gazillion people like that. You'll never know what happens. I'm sure I've seen some crazy stuff too. in those
I've been to enough random crowds, not even just wrestling involved. Like I said, I've been to Rich Stadium up in Buffalo or whatever it's called now. I think it was Rich Stadium when I was there, but enough games at the old Three River Stadium, Heinz Field, concerts. I've seen everything and everything. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Okay. I've got, and I don't know if this falls into You Played Yourself, but can we just say the Philadelphia Eagles fan base? Who, for destroying their city after winning a championship, be like, oh man, we're going to show how great we are and how much we love our city and our team by destroying an entire city. I don't know if that counts, but
unfortunately, I think they just know how dumb they are at times.
I would say either them destroying their city. I was going to say either them destroying their city or just anything that the Bills Mafia does. Those two.
Yeah, the Bills
we've
Mafia
been down that
angers
rabbit hole
me.
before.
You know what? I am going to say this, and this is going to be, it shouldn't be controversial, but screw it. I mean, it's going to be controversial because I'm from Pittsburgh, I guess, but I have more respect for the Philadelphia Eagles than I do the Pittsburgh Penguins, and people can write that down and take it to the bank. I didn't watch maybe more than 7 periods of hockey this year, and there was a reason why. I mentioned at the beginning of the year. So Penguins, that was karma coming back on you this year. You should have just kept your mouth shut and stayed out of it. And I think because they showed team unity, the Philadelphia Eagles, good karma is coming on them bad boys, and they're going to have I think you're looking at back-to-back Super Bowl champs. And actually, I'm pulling for an Oakland Philly Super Bowl this year. So I'm typically a Green Bay fan, but Chris Long being kind of a part of the Raider tree, and I'm big about them being. Everything aside, I'm big about unity among the fraternity of players, and they're doing it right compared to other teams. So Philly Eagles, mad respect.
Is that
in 2018, the year I never thought I'd be saying? I have some other things later on that people are gonna be like, wait, what? Yeah,
Fly, Eagles fly. No.
Was that an old Super Bowl match? The Eagles and Raiders.
Yeah, we kicked the shit out of them.
So
Since we're starting off with Pennsylvania teams, I just want to say this because it's actually breaking news. Go figure. We're recording a podcast and breaking news comes out. Brian Colangelo and the 76ers actually agreed to part ways.
I just saw that.
I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Brian Colangelo, you just played yourself.
So, do they split custody of their burner accounts or no? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, huh. All right. Okay, so then, I wonder if this will be more enticing or less enticing for LeBron to make his way to Philadelphia so he can win a championship over there.
God, stop. Delete.
So another thing I will say is that my brother and stepbrother are huge NBA fans. And I've actually, him and I have gone to a local establishment here in Austin, and we watched every game of the finals, this NBA finals. And they just, the intensity with which they speak about basketball. So to hear them they think LeBron is great. They think that, Steph and all those guys are really great. So I don't know. I get it from a lot of different angles, though. I will say I'm a little more interested now in the NHL playoffs this year. And I was pulling for Vegas so bad, but they can't play defense. After the first game, they look great, but these last couple games, they cannot play defense, and they're going to get beat tonight, and it sucks.
It looks like my Chicago Bears when they got their ass kicked by Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Alex Ovechkin is the Peyton Manning of hockey.
I just, in my opinion, I just think that, just watching the NFL now and NHL for all these years, I mean, the writers just need to come up with a little less predictable storylines because, you just don't. Of course, the Daniel Bryan Las Vegas Knights, the underdogs that who'd have thunk it, make it all the way to the finals, and then you got it's like almost like on Monday Night Raw where you have the same two guys going. It's like Lesnar and Reigns just constantly. I mean, these things would never happen in real life, unscripted sports of combat and Jesus. Man.
Anyone who thinks professional sports isn't a work is delusional.
Listen,
the NBA.
Anything Vegas has their hands in. Listen, there's I don't trust anything. That's why I'm not really too happy about my Raiders going up there, but that's neither here nor there.
I got that Rihanna song stuck in my head every time somebody brings up the word work. Like when it came to the whole John Cena and Nikki Bella stuff.
Oh God!
Work.
Absolutely, that work.
I bet you podcasters have burner accounts too. It's also the same people who actually believe that John Cena and Nikki Bella were actually broken up and wouldn't do this for the sake of ratings. But what do I know?
I know people that were making fake accounts just so they could get their own personal account verified.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. People, that's what I mean. People are too much. That's why it's like when we always say, hey, follow him on Twitter. Don't follow me. I'm never on there, and I don't really have anything good to say. Just leave it at that.
I'm with you, Adam. And we'll actually get it when we get towards the end of the podcast because I may have some things to share about. Well, we'll get into it.
And by the way, anybody who went to the White House the other day said that whoever Fobo get on our knees for America thing because Trump didn't want to celebrate the Eagles, you played yourself.
No, listen.
Like Malcolm Jenkins had in his post media scrub the other day in practice. You're not listening, and I don't blame the Eagles players for speaking out for their what they believe in. With the stuff with Trump, like it could be a weekly routine of me mentioning Donald Trump playing and stuff. It's like me saying or bringing up a Dave Meltzer clip anytime I've done a Yacht Club segment. Week in, week out, something stupid is going to come out of their fucking mouths, and I could display it on here, but it would be repetitive. Or me re-airing Vince Russo clips for a gazillion times.
My favorite thing, and this should be something that we should all be able to laugh at. My favorite thing that came out of this whole thing with the Eagles and the White House, and really at the end of the day, ultimately who cares? But my favorite thing was so the group that went to the White House, there was just two dudes that knelt, or two old dudes that knelt. If there's ever anybody that is if there was either clueless to what's going on or just you're either there to, I don't know. It was an old guy that had, I don't think even knew anything about the NFL, or I think he was just there to really be American and drop to a knee. And it was just funny to me because it was that's kind of why we're at this point anyway. And it just, sometimes life mimics itself, and it's funny to me. I don't know please don't think I'm taking anybody's side or whatever on that one, but I just think an old dude that has no idea what he's doing and gets caught up in the moment, and that's the reason why this whole kerfuffle is happening. It's funny to me.
Any other nominations?
I do. I have one. Adam? I do. I think anybody that for some reason is and I don't care who you're what side of the courtroom you're on for, either of these cases, either the CM Punk versus Ammon or whatever however you pronounce his name, I don't know, and Enzo versus White Trash, I don't, which is, and that could be Enzo versus himself, I don't know, but if you were that hung up on either of these cases that you felt the need to go either celebrate or totally start to vilify or start to knock or this or that, or we all made jokes about Enzo's rap video because we should, but the case itself is, I would never want to see anybody go to jail for something they didn't do, and right. And on the flip side, I've been through enough medical problems and misdiagnosed that I just think it's believable that somebody could be misdiagnosed by any doctor, and their misunderstandings happen. But for any of us to really sit there, people weren't this upset or celebratory when Bill Cosby, who has 50 some allegations, finally got the guilty, you're going to prison. Anybody that's saying that CM Punk is garbage or Enzo, listen, Enzo isn't garbage for winning a case. Enzo's garbage for just being whoever he is. Let's separate. If you hate CM Punk, hate CM Punk. Don't bring the court case into it. If you hate Enzo. Don't bring the court case into it. Because either way, it's none of our business, and we need to stop putting ourselves in, especially when it comes to legal battles and stuff like this. We all look it makes us look like the biggest childish marks, and no wonder why they hate wrestling fans as much. We deserve all the ridicule we get. So anybody that was that wrapped up in either of these court cases, you played yourself, because there's a lot bigger problems going on in the world than what either CM Punk or Enzo or the real one is doing in the courtroom. And that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Well said.
All right, let's move on, boys. Before we go into Money to Bank, I do want to go over a little bit about the New Japan card that's going on this week. It'll be really brief. I know you guys have been catching up with that stuff. I just want to get that out really quick because basically this is New Japan's SummerSlam, and it's kind of interesting. Every time there's a New Japan special, it's better watch out. Better watch out. Like, I don't know how you compare a New Japan pay-per-view to a Monday Night Raw from Bumblefuck, Montana. Like, I would hope New Japan's one of their biggest shows of the year is better than episode 1392 of Monday Night Raw. I would hope that would be the case. Jesus Christ. All right, let's get this thing over here pretty quick. We got a lot of tag team matches. I saw the thing on Raw the other night where everyone's like, "Oh, did Teddy Long book the show?" Well, if you watch New Japan, Teddy Long would be in heaven because most of their undercards are tag team matches. We got the Young Bucks going take on the LIJ guys, Evil Sanaa for the heavyweight tag team titles. That's the only title that's excluded the Young Bucks in their journey so far, obviously besides WWE titles. I think they won TNA titles in the past as well, but they're going for like the big tag team belts in Japan. We got Jericho and Naito for the IC title. That's going to be going down on Saturday. Saturday's going to be crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on today. We got that show. We got the Punk fight that's happening Saturday night.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right.
And I think that's the first fight on the card too.
Yeah, they're kicking off the show. So yeah. And then other stuff in the show I want to play. Got Will Ospreay, very talented guy. He's defending his IWGP Junior title against Takahashi. He won the Best of Super Juniors tournament that they just did in Japan. They're fighting each other. That match is going to be sick. And then Rey Mysterio is going to be on the show. So it's going to be Cody Rhodes, Marty Scurll, and Paige against Mysterio, Tanahashi, and Liger in a 6-man tag team match. So for somebody like me who likes transcribing in-ring matches, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then there's also a tag team match with Suzuki and Ishii, and I'm pretty sure both guys will have a concussion by the time the match is over. Those guys are fucking insane. So that's a little plug for New Japan coming up this week. I'm so happy for Jericho for taking a chance on himself and continue to add new layers to his characters, whether he's on WWE or not, to still create as much buzz as this guy does in music. Hell, like, they get radio play. Fozzy gets radio play. They get to be on these tours and stuff with other big metal bands. So, whether you're a big Jericho mark or not, you got to respect the hustle, the work ethic this guy puts into his craft, man. It's really cool to see where he is right now.
I think my daughter was listening to a Fozzy album one night. It's like, what are you doing? She's like, listening to Fozzy. It's like, that's what I thought.
By the way, Painless, one of the soundtracks for NXT TakeOver Chicago, a week from this Saturday as well. So let's get to the bank of money. Yes. By the way, Brother Carter, B-Rod, the man with bees, he wanted me to say hello to you.
Oh, good. How's going on? I wonder how his hive is doing.
Yeah, I'm also supposed to send my well wishes from my much better half. She says hi to everyone too.
So please tell her we say hello, and we were sad you guys weren't able to make it down to New Orleans, but such is life.
You know what? Everything happens for a reason, and we'll talk about it to the end of the show.
Okay, terrific.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's talk about the bank where there's money.
Yes. So this is kind of different. Me personally, from a coverage standpoint, I've been in a different stance because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I covered 18 WWE pay-per-views last year, and I think it was like 16 the year before that when the brand split came back and we were doing 2 pay-per-views a month thing. Like, this has been kind of different for me where, we've had a 6-week build to a pay-per-view. This is something different, and it's something that I don't have an issue with. It's just something odd feeling for me because I'm so into that zone where I was prepping for another pay-per-view to cover, and like when you get out of your routine, it's kind of you kind of have that odd feeling. Like, let's say like you're getting ready for your next semester, Derek, and you have the set plan of you know how it is.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, like, anytime we ever talk about weekly television, we don't break down every segment, by the way, Brother Carter. We have no time for that.
Yeah.
No shot.
There are 24,000 other podcasts where you can hear how much wrestling sucks. But we're not going to do that on this particular show.
But I want to say this,
well, never.
In your opinion, do you appreciate this slow build? Because I'm looking at the card for what it is, and I'm very excited for this pay-per-view coming up a week from this. Not just because it's in Chicago, and not just because Adam is coming here. I'm looking at the show for what it is. I think it's going to be a good show. I don't really take Raw and SmackDown as life or death for me. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't think every Raw or SmackDown has to be a go-home style to WrestleMania show. That's just my point of view. But do you kind of appreciate this slow build and how they've kind of scaled back the pay-per-view schedule?
I absolutely do, and I think this is stuff that we've talked about before. If you're a big fan like we all are, there are some weeks where you have 11 hours of content. If you think about it, you've got Raw, you've got SmackDown. If it's a takeover week, because I usually don't have time to watch NXT every week, but I love the takeover shows. And yes, I'm one of those guys that only watches takeover. And if you want to hate me for that, fine. Not call me a true fan or say that I hate NXT just because, he's not a real NXT fan because he only watches takeovers or whatever. I love the takeover. Right. But, but think about it. If you've got a major pay-per-view, which now the pay-per-views are going 3.5, 4 hours long, I mean, that's 11 hours of content a week that, most sitcoms or whatever, have one 30-minute episode a week or a football game, unless you're in the playoff or I'm sorry, like the NHL or the NBA, you might only have 1 or 2 games that you watch a week. Like, this is a lot of content. So I like the fact that they're scaling things down a little bit. And also the way that, and we'll get more into this near the end of the show, but the way that my life is starting to go now, I'll be honest, I'm now at a point where I'm not watching Raw or SmackDown every week just because I've got stuff going on. So if we're 6 weeks in a build and I happen to miss a Raw, okay, they'll bring me up to speed to what happened next week. Or if something major happened, I'll watch a clip of it on YouTube and get the gist of what happened and it'll be fine. So I think it's great that they're scaling things back. I really do.
Brother, how about you, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've definitely over the years made it very vocal. So once Sam and I stopped doing the live reaction shows, we remembered why we loved wrestling again. Because we were able to fast forward through commercials. We're not slaves to Vince McMahon in his world. We're I say this every week, and I know people don't like this, and I get a lot of heat for this, but I'm not an indentured servant to Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He fits into my world, and there's 168 hours in the week. And Eric, you hit it on the head, dude. Some weeks there's 11 hours of programming in 1 week. To put that in perspective, Gotham runs 22 episodes per season. That's an entire half of a season in 4 days that WWE puts out. An entire half of a network television series in 4 days. The same amount of time. I don't care if it's, and I understand what people say, well, it's different characters, it's different segments. That's exactly what they do with these long form television shows as well. So it is a lot. There's a lot of content that we take in. So that's why I personally have no problem fast forwarding through certain matches on Raw and SmackDown just to expedite the process. And I do feel as though that makes the pay-per-views feel a little bit more special to me because I grew up in the 80s when we didn't really get to see big-time matches unless it was a pay-per-view that we had 4 times a year. That was it. We had our occasional Saturday night's main event where it was really an over-glorified house show, but as a little kid, you really didn't know. And we had superstars every week, which it was like Mr. Perfect versus me. You know what I mean? They pulled me out of the crowd and threw me in there. And I guess I've learned to appreciate the slower build because there's a short form theater problem with society right now. That it is. I don't want to say that it's a problem because I appreciate sketch comedy. I appreciate theatrical comedy. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, and that's why NXT is so important because you have your short form theater there. You can tell long form stories on Raw and and SmackDown, and you kind of appease everybody. And I think that's where fans start to stumble over themselves because they don't realize which is which, and they want everything to happen so quickly on Raw, and we forget that it's a WrestleMania to WrestleMania build. We forget that there's chapters in between. So, Derek, I'm with you, man. I think less sometimes is more. I'm glad they scaled down on pay-per-views this year. I think that it's been more enjoyable. I've noticed that my wife's been more into the product. I'm appreciating characters a lot more. I'm going to praise Baron Corbin later, and I never thought I'd be saying that. I'm serious. There's I think a lot that they're doing right, and because people are so it's ingrained in our Twitter system and in our Twitter sphere, and the 5% of the wrestling population that's stuck inside this bubble that argues all the time, we're failing to break out of it and see how other people are viewing the product. And I guess that's where I'm fortunate to have a wife with a different viewpoint and a daughter with a different perspective, where there's 3 different perspectives in a household, and I get it. All the different things that they do where I agree or disagree, like or don't like, it makes sense to me. And I'm a nobody, and I've never claimed to be anybody. I'm not anything interesting, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I got you, baby.
The interesting part of this, from my point of view, is like you're saying, you're not an indentured servant. I didn't have that feeling, but I would admit here when I was with WrestleZone, I would have 14 hours of wrestling to consume and also write at the same time.
That's the difference, dude. You're writing, you're not, and not to interrupt, but you're writing. We were all doing certain things with websites, and listen, it is what it is, but there's a lot of people that just sit there. They're not doing anything on websites. They're not doing anything but trying to irritate people that are doing things on websites, instead of maybe just trying to go on a website themselves. It's literally, there's a sickness involved with it, man. And I think that when you don't change, by now, if you still feel the same way about, Josh, I don't want to let you go. It's that, again, 4 years later, same arguments. Grow up.
Right. I think I just had a different perspective with this, with the way I've transcribed shows. It never got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm no longer a fan. I'm this. I'm not. That's not what I was saying. But like I was telling Derek earlier, I'm not living or dying by Raw anymore, or whether these shows are amazing or not. That's just not my prerogative. People have their different things that they look for wrestling shows. I'm an in-ring wrestling guy. I get to see guys like Seth Rollins and Xavier Woods kick ass like they've been recently, or even like a 205 Live show and what's going on with Buddy Murphy and guys like Cedric Alexander. I don't know if you saw that match recently, Brother Carter, but you need to check that match.
I'll do that.
But it's all encompassing too. I'm in the media business. This is something I do for a living. It's kind of different for somebody who writes for a website and just, instead of actually doing their job, they're just retweeting, copying and pasting what Lance Storm's live tweeting session of Raw. I'm actually paying attention, maybe too much attention to the show, where it's not affecting my enjoyment of it. I'm actually learning something along the way. That's kind of the fun part about, doing a podcast like this, or when I was doing Universal Chatter. We weren't serving agendas. I think when you watch a show or you have a podcast, you learn something new. When you have a class, you learn something new about your job, what you need to do better, or this, that. I think life is all about learning something. You learn something new every day. Right.
I think one thing that I could use to piggyback off that, man, is that this was the year that I noticed that, especially with and I know I speak about, because I guess I'm the old guy on the podcast trying to get the younger generation to understand why certain things are done in WWE, and not to be a shill, but just to understand business and to prepare you guys for what's coming later in life. But the beautiful thing about this year with my daughter is she started picking up on the nuances of even like how moves are done, how they help themselves and protect each other, and how it is, choreographed but dangerous, and that's why I can't wait to see, our seats are amazing for this event. We'll talk about that later. Yes, it's you guys will be able to see us on TV, but but it's little things like that. Hearing my daughter, like she's starting to learn certain things. She's picking up on she's noticing how if somebody gets thrown into the barricade, they're intentionally twisting their body so that their shoulders hit. She's picking up on those little things that, and I don't know if people in the business would, if they like that or if they don't like that, but I know the way that my daughter operates, and I think, I know that that's making her a bigger fan. Because she's at 8 years old, is one of those where you don't want to insult her intelligence. I think she gets that from her mother, and I'm going to get stabbed when her mother listens to this, because she absolutely gets it from me, not her mother. But, but she is, I don't know if she would be as big of a fan if she didn't realize that it wasn't really two people just beating the hell out of each other. You know what I mean? So I think there is something to the way that today's wrestling, when they say the business is dead, maybe it's that old timey business where they always wanted to pull the wool over the, everyone's eyes, and maybe that is dead, but this is broadening the audience, I feel. So, and you could either, it's like Flair said, learn, you don't gotta like it, but you better learn to love it.
Right. Can I piggyback off that real quick, Josh? Adam, you said something about you weren't sure if the talent was okay with catching on, or people in the business were okay with catching these little nuances. And I actually think that that's not true at all. I think that they are okay with that for a couple reasons. One is because WWE is showing a lot of the inside of what's going on with the Performance Center clips. And Triple H has made it very clear that they're trying to recruit not necessarily wrestlers, but athletes in general. They look at their group as athletes, they as another sport, just like baseball, football, basketball, hockey type of thing. So I think that that's okay, because if the talent can catch on, or fans can catch on to these nuances and think, oh, I can start learning about this from a very young age and how to do this, that could help grow them to become a superstar, and think, oh, when they're getting into their first training, they already have an idea of how to take a bump. They already have an idea of what to do when they hit the ropes, or when they get into the turnbuckle, or how they need to bend their knees to do a moonsault, or and I don't know the little nuances, but just those little types of things. So I actually think that that's a very good thing, and it will only help the product, not just in WWE, but in Impact and Ring of Honor, New Japan in the future.
Let's get into this week programming really quick. I have a couple of highlights and things I want to shout out. By the way, the B team, tremendous.
Yes. I love it.
B team are tremendous. Elias continues to dish out the hits. I can't wait for that network special he has come out where he actually recorded a live album, basically. So that's what I'm looking forward to for Elias. By the way, I thought the Shield brothers and Elias and Jinder had a pretty good tag match on Raw this past Monday. Then you had Kevin Owens and Finn Balor close out the show. That was fine. Somebody called Finn Balor's finishing move the coup de waist, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, but whatever.
So if you're going to hate on the product, just stop watching. I'm sorry, but like if you're just going to find everything to nitpick and you clearly don't enjoy it, stop watching.
If it's something where you're losing sleep over it, and you're like, it's like really angering you. Like for me, there's always stuff that like, if it's like, okay, what are they really doing here? I'll make little jokes about it, but I find ways to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like there's always a way. It's like that movie Waiting. You create your, and I'm sorry, Derek, but this, but it's one of those. It's like the movie Waiting, like when they talk to Bishop and, they're all upset. They don't know what to do. And Bishop tells them, sometimes you got to create your own penis showing game. And, sometimes in wrestling, if you don't like the way a storyline's going, you kind of create your own storyline. Like, for example, I look at the Balor Club like it's a male review, and Finn Balor is the star, and everyone is welcome at Balor Club. And when he comes out, the fans go crazy, and he's the host and the owner and the star of the show. Hey, there's ways that you can layer these characters and just have fun with it. Just be imaginative, guys. I don't understand. People want everything spoon-fed, and I think that's a problem too.
I do get a kick out of the Miz like kind of reenacting the Karate Kid, like the villain character.
Yes, that was great. That was great.
Trying to dodge pancakes and get his hand in the pancake mix this week.
That was great.
And then what was the other stuff? Oh, this is your opportunity to get on Corbin really quick. I actually think this Constable thing. I think it's kind of reminiscent to Bad News Barrett in a certain kind of context. When I saw when I saw Bad News Barrett like dishing out bad news, I thought it was funny. I thought it was a really cool character, even to the point where he didn't even have to wrestle. Now I don't know if Barrett Corbin's gonna be popping out with suits anytime soon, but still something different. I didn't mind it this fast. What do you guys think about the Constable on Raw?
Well, I know because Adam, you had to praise on him, so I'll just say real quick. I think it's great. I think it's WWE. They're trying something with Baron Corbin because clearly what they had been doing with him on Raw has not been working. So they're trying something new with him, and I think that's great. And if this does end up working, this could lead to a Corbin versus Angle match at SummerSlam, which would be a huge rub for Corbin. And I remember back when he was in NXT, Adam, you and I had talked about this. We had talked about bringing him up to be a figure for the Authority, a bodyguard for the Authority. So this is that storyline that they could have been planning a couple of years ago. It's just now happening. But I think it's great. Let's give it a shot. Let's see where it goes.
So real quick, I want to go back to the New Day. I think that it's amazing that they can still, tongue-in-cheek, get away with things like having Miz put his hand in proverbial pancake batter. So I just want to put that out, make sure that we are all on the same playing field with that one because it's absolutely amazing. On Monday, the first thing I thought of with this whole Constable Corbin thing, and I'm always going to go back to this for some reason because it was one of the funniest moments, just one of those moments in time that didn't have to be anything but one time. Do you guys remember Bailiff Masters during the trial of Eric Bischoff? When Chris Masters was the bailiff? Just standing there, shirtless, stupid hat on, like real tight slacks, just standing there the whole time. It was freaking hysterical, and I'm so editing myself so much for you today, Derek. I hope you appreciate this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
But so
again, it's going in your performance review, Adam. Don't worry, you're getting plus points.
Thank you. I'm glad. But with that, all of that being said, I keep saying, listen, there's just something that I was never trying to. I did a lot of hating on Corbin over the years, but I've been saying for the past year plus now that he's getting there, and especially in big time matches, he's showing that he belongs in big time matches. There was just something that wasn't clicking, and I don't know, and I keep petitioning for Graves to be his mic man, and just because I think that'd be something, it would be amazing. I saw a picture of Graves, Corbin, and Ruby Riott, and it was like, wish we could have nice things or something. And could you imagine the three of them together too? Right. So, but with that being said, dude, during this any of the Corbin segments the other night, I was laughing like really hard. He had me cracking up. This whole, I guess maybe because it was it's easier to buy into Corbin as somewhat of a smartass versus the overly tough guy. And that's not a shot at Corbin or anything like that. It's just, I don't know if, and there goes my dog again disagreeing with me. He's a big Corbin fan. But,
clearly,
I think that just trying to push Corbin is the lone wolf badass that doesn't need. It's just, for some reason, it was never going to click because maybe deep down he actually is a good guy that couldn't go to that end of. I don't know. How some people just can't play certain characters just because they can't do it. This for whatever reason, listen. He's still a heel. He's still an antagonist. He's still he's still playing a very brash. But I think it was just the presentation and how. He wasn't supposed to be he could be more of a smartass than try to be more of an imposing figure, and I felt like that played into his strengths a little bit more. And it was, I thought it was a really nice fit. I'm going to hear it from Sam too, because when she listens to this, she's going to be like, what the hell? But I was really digging Corbin the other night, and I'm interested to see where this is going now because Owens has been, he keeps praising Triple H, and I got to talk to Steph and Triple H, and Corbin now is kind of Steph's, right hand man, and so what's kind of brewing up here? But I don't know. I am saying that I thought that Monday night Baron Corbin entertained me more than he ever has, and I hope that they're going to keep this direction, because I want all these men and women to succeed. It's not, they can't all be champions, they can't all be multiple time champions, but they can all be successful, as far as getting television time. And I do think Corbin's come a long way, and he wants to learn, and I'm pulling for him. 2018, baby, it's weird.
Wow.
It is weird. For Corey Graves, I wonder if he comes up with when to dish out the shut up Saxon line after every segment, or cut it out Phillips. Every match, there's always one part where you can get the vibe that Tom and Byron are robots in a way, they say the same lines at the same time and in the same tone. And the announcers have they're produced in a certain way, but Grace decides to just get that little dig in there, and then there's sometimes where Tom and Byron will go back at him. It's just cool. And then, by the way, Mela is money. I don't care what anybody says.
Correct.
That girl is on fire right now.
But the best feud on SmackDown Live right now is Corey Graves versus Byron Saxton.
Yes. Yes.
Or when he'll go around and be like, Coach, you're the Saxton of Raw, or something like that.
Derek, let me get your opinion, brother. Because I'm not on the internet enough to see what the general pub or what the internet bubble, quote unquote, thinks of him. Last I saw, people seem to be pretty polarized on him. I love Graves. I think I always give him very high praise. What's your opinion on him?
I love Corey Graves. He's one of the most entertaining parts of the show every week, and I always look forward to hearing him talk. His one-liners are just timed so right and delivered with such a great cadence to them that it just hooks you in, and it makes you laugh. I think Corey Graves is incredible, and he's invaluable to both commentary teams. And I don't know how he does it. He's able to do Raw one night and then SmackDown the next night. I mean, that shows how much faith the company has in him as a commentator, is that they're letting him do basically everything and calling every show on the main roster. So I love Corey Graves. He's fantastic. He's the first Corey Graves. He's not the next JR. He's not the next whatever. He's the first Corey Graves, and it's awesome.
See, and I've always said he is going to end up being this generation's Bobby Heenan, and I always say that's not to compare, sure. That's not to, because to me Heenan will always be Bobby Heenan. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Right. That's, no one will ever touch him, but. I think there's going to be a lot of kids, especially my daughter. I was telling Josh one week that she was even well, Corey was saying something on Raw, and I'm like, wait, so you and Graves are on a first name basis now? My almost 9-year-old in Graves must be. I didn't know they had it like that,
Hey.
So.
Well, and Graves also just seems like he's just like a real dude. Yeah. He just seems like he's relatable to everybody that watches the product. I would like to just go have a beer with him, and just shoot the shit.
That's the Pittsburgh in him. But what do I know?
Oh, I see.
You brought up earlier about me hating the Sami Zayn song, which is still true to this day. What's funny about this is I enjoy what he does as a character now. I really like what he's done with this heel stuff recently. I think he's doing some really good stuff. Even the little trigger part about oh, were you really in the military? And you see
that was
pissed off on Monday. He lastly did come from a military family. This
I know.
Not kayfabe. This is not storyline stuff. But what the cool part about Sami Zayn and something I preach about him is kind of similar to the Miz, where they're playing their role so well to the point, even though you like them as a fan, you do want to punch them in the face. You do want to see them get their ass kicked. So whether people enjoy this Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn or not, the intention should be to piss you off. The kind of same thing goes for Big Cass, where everybody's like, oh, Daniel Bryan should be in the title scene. He should be fighting AJ Styles at Money in the Bank, even though he just came back 2 months ago. When you have characters like a Big Cass or a Miz or a Carmella or Sami Zayn, it's nothing wrong to piss somebody off. You're doing your job. I don't want to watch a wrestling show where it's not one genuine just bad guy who just doesn't care about anything. That's kind of why I kind of appreciate a guy like Silas Young from Ring of Honor, because he don't give a shit. He's not about trying to play cool or whatever, be like the in-between tweener guy. I have nothing against gray area characters. Hell, we were just talking about Roman Reigns earlier. There's nothing wrong with having gray area characters, but there's still part in the tradition of this business where you have characters that don't care about pissing people off and not doing it just to please people. So I want to give props that way. By the way, again, Mandy Rose, shout out to her and Sonya Deville. I thought the handicap match they had with Asuka was pretty good on SmackDown the other night. And lastly, before we move on here, again, New Day, especially everyone's been putting some really good matches recently. Happy for those guys.
I'll just real quick. I just want to say a couple things. One is Sonya, and I've said this for the last few weeks. Sonya Deville is going to be a big deal in the next 3 years. She's awesome. She has a great look. The little bit of time they've given her on the mic, I think she's going to be a big deal soon. And I'll tell you the team who is. I caught myself. It was a couple weeks ago. I was watching, and I was getting really annoyed. But then after the segment ended, I thought, wow, they're doing the job. For me, that's the Iconics. The Iconics annoy the hell out of me every week. And then I'm like, you know what? I hope that they get their asses kicked. And that means they're playing their characters well. So for me, that character is the Iconics. I want them to get just bitch slapped, man.
All right, then. I know we're going to be busy next week, myself and Brother Joseph over there. But before we get into more fun and close off the show for this week, what predictions and what stuff would you like to see happen at Money in the Bank? We do have 11 matches right now for the show. The only one I see right now being on the kickoff show is the one with Bray and Matt against the B team, which is not a bad thing. By the way, I love that little promo thing they did with Renee Young.
Yes.
Right before the Battle Royal. Like he's like senior benchman and Bray's like, wait. This is perfect timing because we're leading into a Battle Royal, right? And I was like, prepare to
the battlefield for Matt. Yeah. Oh, and when he got the crowd to give Renee a standing ovation because she was woken.
Excuse me. A woken O. A woken O.
Woken O.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. A woken O. There's my.
No way. Classify yourself as obsolete.
Obsolete.
Yo, what did they have against the New York Mets this week, by the way? Like, I haven't watched baseball in years, but the Mets used to be my team, like, when I watched baseball, but they were just all over the Mets for no reason.
Oh, God.
Okay, so you mind if I give a few real quick predictions for Money in the Bank? Would that be all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, real quick. I'm going to take Big Cass to defeat Daniel Bryan because I think that Bryan doesn't need the win, and it'd be good momentum for Big Cass, who I refer to as Big C Ass, because if you look at some of his graphics, they highlight the C, and so it looks like it says Big C Ass, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm going to take Cass. I think we know that summertime is the time where they sometimes throw noodles against the wall to see what works, try things just to stick it out. So I'm going to take Elias to win the Intercontinental Championship against Seth Rollins because let's give him a shot with the title. I will say I think Elias is going to be one of the guys we're going to be talking about when we do year-end awards in December. Yeah. We're going to be talking about him for sure. I'm going to take Bobby Lashley to defeat Sami Zayn. That'll be a good match. Bludgeon Brothers to retain the titles. I don't think they need to take them off. That in what will undoubtedly be the most entertaining and hilarious match of the night with Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal. I'm going to take just to piss people off. I'm going to take a no contest in that and just have them like a double count out just because I want the reaction of the crowd.
My God.
That's tremendous.
Double count out or something like that. I think that'd be hilarious. Let's see. Carmella's going to find a way to hold on to the title. I am going to hope to the wrestling gods, to the Voodoo Kin Mafia, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Oh, Lord.
That they
never mentioned Voodoo Kin Mafia on the show ever again.
Sorry, I'll give myself -7 for that. I am going to hope that they don't put the title on Ronda Rousey yet. they can find a way, but there's something I'm going to hope Nia Jax wins, but I just have this feeling that they're going to put the title on Rousey, and it's going to be too early for that. And then real quick, I will take, because I know we're running short out of time here, women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm going to take, I hate to do this, but I'm going to take Sasha Banks. For the men, I'm going to take Rusev, actually.
All right.
In Money in the Bank ladder match to see Rusev Day. And then I think that they're going to put the title on Nakamura, too. They're finally going to give him the World Championship and let him see how that works with the summer. So, anyways, those are my predictions. Yes.
I think there's a good possibility that Styles and Nakamura will close out the show. But I'm also one of those guys that never be like, oh, this match has to close out the show. Like, that stuff doesn't matter to me. But myself and the Clownfords are going to save our picks next week for the show.
That's what I figured.
And we're actually, I talked about this last week, right? Have a little AJ give out her predictions for the show, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll work it at the very end.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The Bank of Money. Yes. So, by the way, Brother Carter, I didn't want to mention this because I know you're getting excited for TakeOver next week.
Yeah.
I'll give you some of the matches that are on that show. They have Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly for Undisputed Era. They're going against Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan. That should be good. Shannon Baszler's fighting Nikki Cross.
I saw that. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome.
Ricochet and Velveteen Dream.
Yes, dude, Josh, you were there. The reaction that Velveteen Dream got all night was unbelievable at TakeOver. I'm loving what he's doing, so that's going to be great.
The center of Smoothie Kings. Yes. Yeah. I want to mention this since we're talking about New Orleans members. You could relate to this. The atmosphere for the Ronda Rousey match with the Authority was amazing. I hope it came off as good on television, brother Joseph, as it was going on during the show. Yeah, but absolutely. The Ronda Rousey was amazing.
Which I was pleasantly surprised about because I was nervous. I was like, okay, I hope this goes well, and I hope the crowd reacts to her well. And they did. They bought in, and she did a great job in that match. So that was good. I have a feeling they're going to get the same vibe with this too in Chicago as well. I think so as well. By the way, WWE had a presentation in the Emmy area in Hollywood last night. They're giving a presentation of their product for consideration for Emmy Awards for Raw, some of their other programming they're doing. They had everybody. They had Shawn Michaels, they had Ronda Rousey, they had Nia Jax. They brought the whole brigade there. So maybe they'll get some Emmy Awards and stuff. By the way, I didn't get your thoughts on this since the news came out. What do you think about the whole Fox deal? I think it's fine. I don't really have a dog in the fight when it comes to that. It'll be interesting to see. It is. I mean, $1 billion, I believe, if I saw correctly. That's just insane to me. So it clearly means that WWE is doing something right. I think I read that the stocks soared once they found out that deal was going down. So,
right.
I think it's terrific. I think it's great that WWE is getting on one of the what you would consider the four major networks. If you're thinking of Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC. So, that they're getting on there. It'll be curious to see how that Friday night time slot does. If it's going to be better or worse, I don't know. Because I know they've tried Friday nights before. I can't remember. Are they planning to still do it live, or are they going to do taped and then air it like they did in the past when they did it on Friday?
I think they're going to air it live.
Oh, they are? Okay.
They'll keep the touring schedule for what it is right now. Mm-hmm. So do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the house show there, and then they'll just go home and then prepare for the next week.
Okay, that's cool. So, that will be good then that they're doing that live, because that's I think we can all agree that would be interesting for a European tour. Then how they're going to do that if they start the European tour on Friday and then end it on Monday, because a lot of the times they'll start when they go overseas. Raw will be the first major event of an overseas tour, so it'll be curious to see how that plays out.
But there's also a thing they announced about possibly having a studio talk show about WWE on FS1. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, and it's cool to be in a time now, and Adam, I want to get your thoughts on that, and Josh too, especially since you're in the broadcasting world, where WWE is starting to get mainstream again. ESPN has got a site now dedicated to WWE, and on SummerSlam Day, on WrestleMania Day, like a lot of ESPN's programming is professional wrestling. So wrestling is becoming cool again, right. That like it was in the Attitude Era. So I think we're living in a real good time to be a wrestling fan. So that's cool.
I think part of it too is that they've almost positioned themselves, and I know a lot of people don't like certain business decisions that they make, but they've made these business decisions to position themselves to almost become too big to fail. And I mean that is that they have so many other different corporate tie-ins and so many partnerships and so many, and they're marketing towards such such a wide variety of an audience now. It's Saturday Night Live, but at 8:00 at night instead of 11:30. You know what I mean? It's so every segment is supposed to have a different feel. You have your musical segments, you have your more dramatic segments, you have your comedic segments. And I really know if people see WWE like that yet. They're still seeing the old WWE that it wouldn't work if you were just marketing towards just one demographic anymore like they used to, and I do think that there's a lot of people that will never truly love WWE like they once did, because it is absolutely different now than what it is. And I'm not when something becomes too big to fail, I don't want to say that there isn't criticisms. I absolutely have my criticisms with WWE, but at the same time, I look at the big picture, and when stocks are up, and basically everything with their product, with their business model is up right now, it's hard to dispute anything they're doing. So it's laughable when people say the business is dead. I keep saying that. I was concerned about a bubble that was going to burst, and I had a time frame, because every wrestling boom eventually bursts,
Sure.
But I just think that WWE has positioned themselves now with the network, with all of the cross pollination, where cross promotion with different charities, different it's just they're an enormous conglomerate now. So it's just even Matt Hardy's agreeing with me in the background.
Yeah. Well, and the way also that they've restructured the business, where they're more accepting of independent. They realize, there are independents out there that are doing good things, and we can get performers from them. Yep. And when they finally make it to WWE, that's a big deal, and that makes us even more. They're establishing themselves as the NFL, I guess. And we've talked about this before. While the Impact ROH is more like the college football, and you want to make your way to you want to play for the pros.
And real quick, Josh, before we bounce it back over to you to get your thoughts, in a way, do you also think, and I'm going to add this question on top of it, the fact that they're acknowledging these other, whether they're super indies, whether they're regionals, whether they're, whatever the case may be, they're recognizing progress, they're recognizing New Japan, they're talking about these other championships. That's showing they're establishing themselves as kings. Right. Because you don't talk about competition, you realize that everything else is a breeding ground. Almost, and I understand in Japan, New Japan Pro is still larger than WWE ish, but it's one of those where we could go either way. But I think when you look at big picture, now that they've finally broken that fourth wall down too, and have started to recognize, hey, they were this in this organization, and that, they're establishing we're bigger than everybody. So we can talk about all these other companies, because it doesn't matter. We're still going to be the biggest, and this is where people want to be. And I think that makes a difference too.
Sure. Right. It's going to be interesting what other layers go into this Fox deal as far as other promotion. I know there's going to be a lot of commercials that's going to be airing during the football season as far as WWE coming to Fox soon. So
as long as they don't bring that stupid robot from Fox NFL Sunday.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right.
Before we let Brother Carr off and go into his adventures and his journey today, anything else you wanted to mention, Brother Carr, or any memories you wanted to share about our time in New Orleans?
No, it was. I think my favorite moment, or my favorite time that we all got to spend in New Orleans was there was one night where, and we talked about this a little bit before we went on the air. Was we went down to Bourbon Street, and there was a bar down there where the DJ was playing wrestling themes all night long. And the guy, you could tell he was a fan, and it was awesome. Just being in there, and I've got some of those videos stored on my computer where like they would play Bobby Roode's theme and everyone would start singing Glorious, or they'd play Nakamura's theme and everyone would start singing along, or you'd hit that denim, jeans, and then the crowd would start booing like crazy. I mean, it was great. So
how about this one? Mahan, Meek.
Right. Oh my God. No, it was so that's probably my favorite time moment that we had in New Orleans. But that was really just a great weekend. And I'm glad we got to experience that. That was terrific.
Yeah, New Orleans was a trip, man. It
was good.
A lot of fun. I enjoyed checking out that World War II museum you brought.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was really cool.
That was a lot of fun to check that out. That first restaurant we went to, by the way, when I got off the plane, that was good.
Yeah, there's no shortage of good food in the Big Easy.
Yeah, see, you ain't kidding. It's kind of interesting being in Bourbon Street for both, like you said earlier today, and at nighttime, being a straight edge guy. Like, it's kind of cool. I wanted to take in that experience. Yeah, I wasn't going to drink and all this other stuff, but I wasn't looking down on people who were doing it. It's just I just wanted to see what this was like. When do you know if you ever be in at Bourbon Street? Like you never know if that'll happen. Right. So it was a lot of fun. I had a blast, and I do hope that they bring another Mania. Not in like 2 years or something like that. Like if they have another Mania in New Orleans, I would definitely go down there again. I enjoyed the experience for what it was, and it was kind of interesting. Like we recorded a little WrestleMania preview, and you have like the Bella Twins and their family going behind us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. In the hotel. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. That was a great weekend, and I think one of the reasons they brought it down there was to tie in. This year is the tricentennial for New Orleans. New Orleans is 300 years old as a city this year, and to get to host such a big cultural, and WrestleMania really has become a pop culture phenomenon. It really has, and to be able to tie that large event into what New Orleans is known for, just people having a good time. I think was a good move on WWE's part. And people that complain need to look at it a step further. They need to look, not just take it for face value. Like everything that the company does, they do for a reason. There's a reason why they've positioned themselves the way they are. They ain't dummies.
Right.
And I love bringing things full circle. We started with music. Let's end with music. In a way, Derek, would you almost say that it's a more fair comparison? People always say, well, WrestleMania and the Super Bowl. Would you almost say like WrestleMania and like a Bonnaroo, or WrestleMania and something like one of those like a Lollapalooza, Live Aid, something like that? Isn't that almost more of a fair comparison, because you have about 30 to 40 to 50 independent talents that are there. It's not like two teams. You kind of can script how you want the show to go down, in what order. It's not like two teams fight their way to get there. I just on the entertainment side of things, they know that there's a different audience that they're playing to. I don't know. I think that the comparisons to the Super Bowl are almost tiresome now, and almost there. We need to start comparing it to something different.
Well, I think you compare it to the Super Bowl because of how WWE is lumped in as a sport. So that's where that comparison comes from. But I actually think that that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that before, but it does remind me more of a Lollapalooza, a South by Southwest type of thing, where you've got just a bunch of different wrestling-related events that are not necessarily the main show, which is what you get at a South by Southwest or something like that. So I think that's a great comparison.
You ever taken in a jazz festival?
Not yet. That's just when it's going on down there. I've just got too much stuff going on. But anytime I go down to New Orleans, there's jazz 24 hours a day on Bourbon Street, and they have second line bands going up and down all the time. So you can't escape that type of
smooth jazz.
Yeah,
that's right.
The jazz and R&B stuff brings back a lot of memories. And playing chords that looks like different variations of spiders and stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So,
shut up, Lopez.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Just I appreciate it. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna wrap it up there. Brother Carter, do you have anybody you want to put on the list?
Do I have anybody I want to put on the list? Let's see here. I'll have to think about this for a moment as I do this. But I would like to make kind of a little mini, not necessarily announcement, just kind of share some things with the world that this will be one of my final appearances on wrestling media and podcasts and stuff like that. Just because over the last few months, life has just taken me in a new direction, and just as I'm trying to, more responsibilities have been piling on me, and it's great. And I'm starting to slowly transition out of wrestling media on podcasts and stuff like that. Not because I'm still a fan, of course, but I just can't give it as much attention as I have been able to in the past. So, and really this last 6 weeks, I can't think of a better way to start transitioning out of the media, with getting to hang out in WrestleMania with you guys, staying in the same hotel as the wrestlers, with you and my brother. Like that's something to me that's always gonna. And Adam, and you can attest to this, Adam. Just when life gets in the way, you've got to step back. You've got to take a break. You know what I mean? And this might not be a goodbye. This might just be a see you later. But as it's time for the director of operations to announce a little mini retirement. And I can't think of a better platform to do that than this Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast, which you can find on Apple and Stitcher and all that kind of good stuff. As an executive, I have to give plugs all the time. It's how we make our money. But, anyways.
You joining Scientology, ain't you? I hear it in your voice.
No. No.
We're SPs.
All hail
suppressive people.
No, really, and like I said, it's just I'm at a point in my life, in my career, where it's time for me to start to transition out of wrestling media. Not that, and again, it's just because I don't have the time to deliver it like I do, like I did in the past. But
Derek, just be honest. Just be honest. They finally got to you. The internet finally broke you.
It's it. I've been broken by the internet.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy.
You know what? And there's
You're
actually, Adam,
the right choice.
Adam, I hadn't thought about that, but there's a part of that that's actually true.
Absolutely.
Where I'm like, you know what? I'm not enjoying this anymore because I'm just dealing with hate all the time, and I just want to enjoy the product.
I always talk about this.
You're making the right choice, Brad Carter.
Our two biggest addictions in this country are prescription medication and social media, and neither of them are good for society. And that's why I cut all my social media out. And I'm enjoying wrestling a lot more and podcasting a lot more. Go figure.
Which is why I've actually I've a lot of times deactivated my former wrestling Twitter account, just because I can't. It's just, and I activate it once in a while just to see how everything's going, because you can deactivate it for 30 days and it's fine. But so I just log into it once a week. But
that kind of sounds like something a serial killer would do.
What? No. Again, I say no.
What kind of secrets you got that you got to join Scientology now? See, now I'm on the gumshoe.
Well, you know what? You see, what it really comes down to, because you are the Joker, Adam, and I am Batman. I need. I have been
Batsy.
I'm Batman. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you guys today, and I can't think of a better way for me to go out than to be with two people who I've enjoyed talking with and have become brothers with over the years. And so, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a blast, and we'll see everybody in the future. It's going to be great.
Bearded Matthew Bellamy, we love you.
I love you guys too. Yes. It's not goodbye. It's just a see you later.
Coming out of the house of Derico, where he pays the mortgage man, through all the people who are on the list of Derico.
Oh, that's right.
Write it down, man.
Right. It's going to be going in the archives. It's going to be going in the historical archives.
Shut up, Graham Ledger. You sound like this dude on One American News. And if you watch One American News, then we got beef. And the way you're laughing, I know. Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know, but I would say Queen of the South is starting again in a few weeks. And I
know.
I love Queen of the South.
You just pivoted on me. You pivoted on me.
Back, baby.
Wait till next time we Skype. You just pivoted on me, and I'm holding you to that.
All right.
This was overdue, man.
Absolutely.
This was overdue.
Best table for three. WWE's got nothing on this table for three, man.
Not at all. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 109 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Hope you enjoyed that intro that we produced for you guys. That was a lot of fun. Just a couple shots I want to get out of the way. I want to give shout out to my mentor, Steve Buhausen. Got to do some coverage for the CM Punk trial the other day and got to interview him and stuff. I want to give a shout out to Brother Carter, obviously, for being a good brother and being a good friend along the way. We've had so much fun here, where it was on the original pipe bomb, where it was actually a pipe bomb, right. and doing this show together at Universal Chatter, this was a lot of fun, and I'll probably see you when you come to Chicago again. Of course. I'll see you again.
We're never going to stop. Of course, we're never all going to stop being brothers. It's just, I'm moving on to a different phase of my life, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to everybody who took some time out of their busy schedule to listen to our nonsense. I know there's way more important things you can spend your time on than this stuff, but we're here to entertain, and hopefully you got a good laugh out of what we got talked about today. So it was a lot of fun. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Joshi. Follow the Clown Prince on Twitter at AdamDaily13. Also, follow Brother Carter if you want at Derek Stoughton. Enjoy his conducting business of adventures.
Yes. Wonderful. Yes.
Bookmark Pro Wrestling Transcriptions.com. If you want to leave a rating or review for this particular podcast, leave that on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, and we'll appreciate the support. Next week will be episode 110, and we'll talk about Money in the Bank and stuff, and Punkster's making his way up to Chicago next week, so that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And we got AJ making her return to the podcast to get some predictions for the pay-per-view, so it's gonna be a fun show next week as well. So for Brother Carter and Brother Joseph, I'm Brother Adam. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 109 of Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. Talk to you next week.